I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James White, Field Yates Meanakeims.
All right, so first play we're going to look at 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick here, Tayler Kyles there, back with another episode of the Patriots Daily Podcast. So we're going to get to as many questions as possible from you guys as you come in and trickle in over the next half hour or so. Let you guys sort of run the agenda, run the discussion as the Patriots continue on this offseason. As we know, Drake May, Christian Ellis spoke yesterday, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We want to kick around a couple other Patriots topics, draft-wise, trade-wise, Joe Milton-wise. I have a take on this Joe Milton thing that Greg Bedard reported yesterday that I kind of wanted to get out there, and I thought there was no better place to talk about it here than the AMA on Friday. So, Taylor, before we get into some Patriots stuff, how are you doing? It's almost the weekend, slowly but surely getting there. I know you just did you drop Travian Henderson yet, or is that still coming?
It's coming today. So,
okay, awesome.
Yeah, but doing good, man. I'm excited for the weekend. I need to, turn my brain. I'm probably not going to. I always say, I'm going to turn my brain off, and then I end up doing a couple cut-ups. But I'm really trying to turn my brain off this weekend so I can be fresh and recharged for next week. We're going to have, is it rookie minicamp?
Rookie minicamp Friday, Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, rookie minicamp. So obviously we'll have the full week, but I need to get my stamina up to make sure that I'm ready by the end of it. We also have a ton of other player breakdowns coming out, so that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, we have that. We have a couple interviews set up for next week as well, along the lines of the rookies, so that'll be exciting. And I'm with you as far as the weekend, and I think I do like these Friday AMAs because it does feel much more relaxed. It's not really topic-centric. It's kind of just let the fans run the show and kick around a couple Patriots topics. So I do want to start on that and on the Joe Milton one, where Greg Bedard on his podcast with Nick Cattles yesterday talking about Joe Milton and the trade of Joe Milton to the Dallas Cowboys, because obviously we spoke with Drake May yesterday, and he was asked about it and, gave his again, we talked about Drake May a little bit and how he's good with the media and he gives cookie cutter answers and he says a lot without saying much. It's almost like he was trained by old Bill Belichick media wise, but he said all the right things about Joe Milton and that trade. However, Greg Bedard yesterday on his podcast talked about Joe Milton, and I'm trying to find the exact quote, but essentially said that someone in the building told him that Joe Milton's not a good dude. And not that I'm having trouble with this, but it's rubbing me the wrong way because I know Greg's plugged into that building. So I believe what Greg reports. And that's not just because he's a member of the Patriots press media. Greg's a good reporter. He does good work and he has sources in the building. So I believe that somebody told him that. But I also know that Joe Milton's not a bad guy, right? And we interacted with him in the locker room. We spent time with him down in Foxboro. It seemed like, he probably just wanted to start football games just like any backup should want to do. So my issue is, who and why is somebody telling Greg this at this point in time after they trade Joe Milton? Because, again, I don't think Greg is throwing something against the wall. Again, Greg does great work, so I believe his report. I just don't. Joe Milton's not a bad guy, so I think it's fishy, it's shady, and I don't understand why this is coming out now from someone inside the building, if it is inside the building. And it's rubbed me the wrong way because I like Joe Milton, and I think he's getting a bad rap post-Patriots trade a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, man, I'm indifferent to it kind of because, one, if it is coming from the building, then that's somebody who probably knows something that we don't. So I don't necessarily feel comfortable speaking on it because if there's information we don't have, maybe he, it doesn't mean that he was a jerk. It doesn't mean that he was flipping people off or anything, but maybe he just wasn't helpful. Maybe we know that hurt players or sometimes guys who just don't play, they usually get extra assignments to help the guys ahead of them. Maybe, Milton wasn't doing that. I'm just saying the kinds of things that aren't necessarily egregious, but are enough that I could see a new regime being if he's not on board, we're just not going to keep him around. And I thought it was funny that, Drake said that he deserves a chance to compete to be a backup, which is kind of funny.
That was funny. Yeah.
I was he's gonna get that chance. I don't think that's what you necessarily want because Milton said he wanted to be a starter. It was I think it's a weird situation. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more to it just because of how talented Joe Milton was. And, they said that they wanted to create the room for Drake, and I believe that. That's why I didn't think they were going to take a quarterback, and why I thought it made more sense to sign one. But yeah, I don't feel comfortable getting too deep into this. I feel like, honestly, lately I've been slipping from what I usually do and kind of getting old, like with the
Belichick and stuff.
I'm slipping up a little bit. Like, I really just don't like talking out of school, so I don't know. Milton was always great to us, so I don't want to speak ill of him, but I mean, Greg knows people in the building, and this could be one person who felt that way.
Right.
Like, it's very important to note that, like, these are still human beings. Just because they're in the building doesn't necessarily mean their opinion is right. But it also can be indicative of things that just didn't get out because, the people respected Joe and didn't want to poo-poo him on his way out the door. So,
Yeah, the quote from Greg yesterday on the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast, if you missed it, was Joe Milton, and this is a direct quote from somebody in the organization, is not a good dude. Knowing your role, playing your role, being part of a Harp.
Man, I'm sorry. That's a shitty thing.
It is.
And then to not give whether or not he gave Greg more context and maybe Greg couldn't tell or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I just don't like that. I don't like
I agree. And he goes on to say, knowing your role, playing your role, being part of a harmonious quarterback room, that was going to be an issue. It wasn't about Drake May. It was about the room. And I agree that it was probably the best move to get him out of here. Like, I think that building a room centered around the success of Drake May is the way to do this thing. But, I mean, and again, it was the Gerard Mayo regime and all of that. But every time they won a game, Joe Milton was a practice player of the week. So something tells me that he was at least involved in scout team and that he was doing a good job to give them a look and things like that. So it's an odd situation. It's obviously not one that we need to talk much more about because he's not in the building anymore, right? And so, but also on the Drake comment, it is funny, like he said, and I don't think it was done on purpose, where it was like, yeah, he gets a chance to compete as a backup, when really he probably wants to go compete as a starter. But here, he would have been third behind Josh Dobbs. Last year, he was third behind Jacoby. So, but no, he is off to Dallas now, and obviously wish him well. But just a strange report that came out yesterday, and I kind of wonder what the crux of it is. But next to football, some real football. I've been seeing a couple reports lately on Kyle Williams, and it's all great things on this Patriots third round pick, the 69th overall pick. Patriots took him in last Friday night. And everybody seems to love the Kyle Williams pick. It's a universal slam dunk, at least in draft circles. Bruce Feldman of The Athletic went on Kevin Clark's podcast, This Is Football on ESPN, and said that Kyle Williams was his favorite player in the draft, that he was such a stud. He's shifty, plays inside and out, showed up in big games. And Bruce Feldman loves him. And then Doug Farrar from Farrar from I think he was Wire. Now he's with Athlon. But said that he quote tweeted that and said, Kyle Williams will be the best receiver in this class over time. We obviously know, if you haven't seen it already, we had CBS Sports' Mike Renner on the pod earlier this week, and he was in love with Kyle Williams too. So, look, he has not played a single down. He hasn't even practiced with the team yet. But it feels like this is a universally loved pick compared to the question marks that surrounded Jalen Polk and Javon Baker last year selecting rookies. It feels like everybody loves Kyle Williams. So seems like a successful pick so far. We'll see how it plays out, but he's definitely getting some love in NFL draft circles.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of it is just the fact that the Patriots haven't had a separator, and he's such a different kind of player. Like, people obviously like Kyle Williams before that, and that's just why. Now, do you think I'm curious, we kind of talked about earlier in the week, like, is there any chance you think that he isn't a starter for this team? Like, in what world is that even a possibility? And like, the obvious things were like if he didn't pick up the playbook, but I don't see him not being a major contributor for this offense, like a Ladd McConkey, where he just is such a good separator. And because he's really like that Chargers offense, it was only Ladd. You had Josh Palmer, who gave you some stability. So now the Patriots are in a somewhat similar position, but I think unlike the Chargers, where it was really just like Palmer as the reliable guy, McConkey as the juice, and then a bunch of dudes, or just Jags around him pretty much. The Patriots at least have some developmental talent. You've got the veterans who you can at least rely on. So, but like Kyle Williams feels like the guy who's going to stir the drink.
he should be a starter, but simply because of the lack of, it's not lack of depth in the room anymore, but lack of guys who, again, can separate and can be a real, like, added juice to the offense, right? I mean, your Pop Douglas is a guy who's a good slot player. And you have, again, I look at your outside targets and the guys who are going to play X and Z, and it's Javon Baker, it's Kayshon Boutte, it's Kendrick Bourne. It's just, I hate to call them a bunch of guys, and I don't want to go as far as stick, stank, stunk by any means, but it's just kind of guys that are out there that are all they're kind of all similar.
You're a guy until you're not. The reality is, like in the NFL,
right.
If they look at you and they're like, we don't really need to think about this person, or he's not someone we need a game plan for, you are literally just a guy.
Exactly. And so I think Kyle Williams should have a real chance at starting and making an impact pretty early. And that's super exciting. That's like something that, you haven't really had here in a long time, is a legit wide receiver threat who can sort of take the top off the defense and add second level speed, and someone who Drake May can go to on that, second, third level of the field. And so, I hate, and it's not a slam dunk pick by any means, because again, he hasn't played NFL football yet, but the juice around it right now is promising for sure. I guess my question, and this is more of a, I guess a stupid question is kind of strong, but like what made Kyle, if everyone loves Kyle Williams so much, and this was such a great pick by New England, what made him the 69th pick as opposed to somebody who was in play at like pick 38 or something like that? Like, I guess I just don't understand fully why that happens in the NFL draft.
One more time. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Like, no, that's fine. Like he was picked at 69, right? He was the third round pick. 68 players go before him, but then it's the round's over and everybody loves him. Everyone's like, Kyle Williams, he's such a good player. He's going to be awesome. No doubt about it. Well, then why wasn't he a second round pick? Why wasn't he picked at 38? Why? And I'm not saying he should have been a top half first rounder or anything like that, but if he's so special, then why the slide, I guess?
It reminds me of Craig Woodson, where there were people that liked him, but even like with Kyle Williams, even me, like I had him with the second, third pick in one of my mock drafts. I had them taking Jalen Noel in the earlier one. And that was really because it's the frame one. Like the reality is he's not a perfect prospect either. Like he doesn't really attack the ball very often, or like he's really good in contested catch situations, but you don't really see him going up and extending for it very often, especially in some of the situations where guys are closer to him. And he's not very big. So like his catch radius is bigger than you'd expect, but it's not as big as it still could be necessarily.
Okay.
Late breakout as well. That's a big part of it. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that it was the late breakout. And that's why I think it's third, right? If he had 2 years of this, I think he would have been a second round pick, but you're partially banking on the fact that it was only a consistent thing in that last season. So I think it was the frame that even as a route runner, I think he's still got work to do. Like he's very slippery, but like he'll have some drops. There are times where he doesn't, I feel like, come back to the ball. Like there's still things to work on. So he's not a perfect prospect, but he's the kind of guy where you can see, it's hard for people to even get a hand on him, and he hits top speed so fast that he can be a legitimate 3-level threat. So I think that's why a lot of people liked him. But the fact he only had the 1 year of really impressive production, and he just doesn't look the part of a guy who you could be at Z and like you move him around, but he's frail. It frightens you when you look at it, because like even Brandon Cooks, right? Like Brandon Cooks is the same weight, I think, and is 2 inches shorter, and he looks rocked up. Where as an X, you're like, I can see it. He's fast and he's like big enough that he can fight with guys. Williams, it's like, nah, if he goes up against a physical corner who can get his hands on him and really like gets a grip, then it's going to be hard for him to do anything about that. But then it's Josh McDaniels' job to say, okay, this team has like 2 outside corners that are big, physical, and usually land their punches and are going to be an issue. We got to get him at Z, right? We got to let him win laterally, because he's not going to win if he just runs in a straight line right after.
All right, so I want to actually, I was going to go to one more thing before we got into the Q&A, but we did have a question surrounding that, so I guess we'll start here. This is from Isaac D. Stark. And also, anyone who's here, throw in your questions. We'll get to as many as possible. We'll get to all of them, actually, because, again, we have time, and this is for you guys. But Isaac asks, how do you think McDaniels is going to use Kyle Williams? He's good on the comebacks underneath and can stack guys up, versatile player. So how do you – I know you kind of just went into a little bit, but kind of what would I guess what would your vision be, but also how do you envision him being used in the Patriots offense this year?
So I think on early downs, I could see him being the X because you keep him away from the action. He doesn't really need to block. I think he's feisty enough that he will block, but like, again, physics is physics. You know, there are some guys where you can see it like he wants to block and he'll do it, and you don't expect him to be that.
That's a t-shirt saying physics is physics.
Yeah, at some point it's like he's not very big, and if someone knows he's coming and doesn't have the element of surprise, like, you know, he can get rocked. So if he's an X in some early down groupings, you can keep him in those isolated situations. But I think you'll also want to move him around. Like, you want on play action for him to use that role where he comes in motion, goes upfield, and you don't know if he's going on a crosser or if he's going on an out. Because if you get him on a crosser against man coverage and he gets separation, he can just run and score a touchdown. So you still want him to move around. That's why it's kind of tough to say where he's going to be exactly, because he can play every spot. So in the situations where you like him one-on-one, you put him at X. If there's some plays like you want to use play action or you want to, you know, give him that advantage, you put him at Z. There's also going to be times where you can just give him a slot fade and put him inside. So he's going to play everything. I think his main role is probably going to be at that X spot because I don't think you want him really in the mix too much as a run blocker. But he's going to be at Z to give him advantageous matchups and then in the slot again, because if you send him vertical and give him that much space to work with, he's just a scary player. Where, like, if he gets in the league and he scores 2 or 3 long touchdowns early, every single team is going to have him circled and be like, and that's what he is. Finally, you have someone where the other team is going to be terrified, because if he gets a screen and you miss, he can score on you because he just gets top speed so quickly, as opposed to like, he runs a 4.3, but it's more build-up speed. Like, no, you miss and he's gone.
And that's why he's such a good separator, because he can do it so quickly at the line. It's like I'm excited. I'm bought into Kyle Williams, and I was bought into Jalen Polk last year at this time, which I see in the chat too. Jeremiah says we did this last year, but it's different. I really do believe it's different, the way the board fell, the way they attacked wide receiver last year as opposed to this year. So again, I think Kyle Williams, I think he's going to be a good player. I think McDaniels will use him right. And to give Josh McDaniels a weapon like that, give Josh McDaniels and Drake May a weapon like that should hopefully garner some success on this Patriots offense.
Just want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Head over to Game Time and use code CLNS. You get $20 off your first purchase. You can see the Red Sox. They're opening up next week. Patriots back here in Gillette Stadium. Could be good this year. Fun times down here in Foxboro. And if you want to get to a game again, head over to our friends at Game Time. Use that code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
There was one other thing I wanted to touch on. It was yesterday's availability from Christian Ellis talking about Mike Vrabel, saying how he's amazing, he's great to be around, and that he's running special teams drills with the Patriots, and that he's also been able to give him some tips at linebacker. He then clarified that Mike Vrabel is quite literally running special teams drills with them. And when we talked about this in our stand-up a little bit yesterday, but when it came out that when they went down to visit with Will Campbell and Vrabel was getting literally physical with him and wanted to feel him out and figure out, like, you know, how hard he hit and stuff like that. Like, Mike Vrabel is going to be a physical, a legitimate practicing head coach. And I think that's super cool. I think it's fun. I think it's a way to have the team almost like respect you and know that, oh, you know how to play this game. You've played this game, and you can still, not that he can still play this game, but he can still kind of get down with it and understand how the game is meant to be played. Pictures are now coming out a little bit here and there from the Patriots.com team.
Brian and I were trying to sleuth and figure out what they meant. It's hard, though, because you got guys that aren't there.
Right.
I don't think Morgan Moses participated, so that kind of threw in some of the pictures and the things you could.
Yeah, right. And I did notice, one thing I did notice was that there's been a lot of handoffs from Drake May to Antonio Gibson. I haven't seen much Ramondre Stevenson in the photos, which is interesting. That's been percolating in my mind a little bit.
We got to be so careful with these.
I know.
Last year did tip us off that Mafi was going to. Remember, we were guessing like when.
With center. We were
like, where does City even play now? The only place that even makes sense is center, and that was the first time that we saw him actually snapping.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you saw this photo, Taylor, but he's literally practicing with them. He has a practice jersey on out there. I thought.
I'm telling you, awesome. Vrabel, as someone who has it, he has ADHD. I know he does. Because every time when they're like, "Oh, he just itches," like, bro, I don't think he like can stand sitting on the sideline. Like, I think he needs to get it out of his system, which is awesome. Like, bro, I got ADHD. I'm still trying to figure out how to use it productively. He's mastered it. Like, and you can tell sometimes when he talks. If you ever notice, he always does something with his hands.
Yep.
And I'm like, bro, I see you, brother. I recognize. But yeah, like all these pictures, he's pushing City So when he's on the thing. He's like on him. I love it.
He's got bags on Jalen Polk at one point when they're doing like a what's that drill called? Not the gauntlet. Like a ball security drill. Yeah, so he's out there. He's practicing with the guys. I thought
Terrell Jennings. I'm looking through it right now.
Yeah. I don't know for whatever and a lot of not harmless isn't the word, but a lot of it was just like, oh, he's coaching the guys up, and then you come across this one and he literally is wearing the practice penny. It's like that's just hilarious, and I'm glad they captured that one.
And like imagine, I was thinking like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. We gotta appreciate it while he can still do this. But like Pete Carroll did the same thing.
Oh yeah. And he's probably doing that shit right now in Vegas. He's that jacked up.
So it's like, wow, they really have like, it's just such a cool thing to see. Because like, you just think about it. If you were an athlete or whatever, it always helps to have some like, even if it's an older player that can kind of show you how it's done. Have a coach who can do that with his amount of experience and expertise is awesome. Also, seeing Josh back in his element, man.
Yeah.
Oh, we're back, man. We're back. This is actually not back. I never was at a practice that was held by actually no, there was Bill and Bill O'Brien. That was professionally.
Yeah. It's so funny. Now I'm looking at so I tweeted this picture when I quote tweeted it with Christian Ellis's coat, and 3 or 4 people have now come out and been like, oh wow, he's wearing Gerard Mayo's jersey number.
I was thinking, also, did you see Riley Larkin's one of the bag boys?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's funny. So
you think we're gonna see him one day at what is that place? What's the freaking bar in Patriot Place?
It's not Six String anymore. Citizens?
No, the one by the Wolf Howl on the Roof. Howl at the Moon.
Oh, Howl at the Moon.
The one next, like the one that overlooks Patriot Place.
Oh,
the one that we go to.
It's not CBS Scene. It's called. It used to be CBS Scene, but now it's.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. What the hell is it, bro?
The harp.
The harp. Thank you. Yeah. Oh my God, it does. How do you?
Oh, that's funny. All right.
I saw Jelani Tavai. I think last year Brian and I were going to the harp, and we weren't going there. We were walking from the parking lot and saw Jelani Tavai, and might have been Sione Taki.
That's hilarious.
I always try to it's so weird seeing players in public because like I don't want to bother anybody, right? Like I like just kind of try to hide, but then they also know you, so you're like I don't know if you recognize me outside, but they do. Like I saw Mike Gesicki. I don't know why I said it like that. Saw Mike Gesicki last year in the city, like around Christmas. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I felt all nervous. He was like, oh, hey, Taylor. I was like, oh, hey, man. I was like,
that's hilarious. Yeah, right. You know me. We talk all the time. It's not, that's hilarious.
I just feel like a bother everywhere I go. So I just try to be like, I'm sorry for even seeing that you existed.
That's
what you get in the Friday AMAs, baby. The random,
the behind the scenes nonsense of Taylor running into Mike Gesicki at Snowport on a random freaking.
Oh, right. It was Snowport.
Yeah. Yeah. We went there last year, and they had it was like spiked hot chocolates.
Yeah.
But one of them was I got one with like the Bailey's peppermint, and it was unbelievable. But my friend got like it wasn't the like the McGillicuddy's type thing. It was like I don't know why I can't think of the liquor, but it was like a dark, gross liquor with hot chocolate, and I tried it, and I like literally wanted to vomit. Like I forget what it
like Jaeger.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
but I don't know. I wasn't a fan. I have to do like the minty stuff when it's with hot chocolate. I can't do like something. It felt like I was drinking like sludge. It was disgusting. But
have I told you my Jaeger story? Why I can't drink it anymore?
No, what did you throw up on it or something?
That's actually, I think that might be one for off air. I literally don't think I can tell you that one on there. But, I cannot.
I was going to say,
college, I physically cannot drinking it.
I was gonna say these are members only, but they do end up getting posted to the channel.
Right.
So this isn't a complete trust tree here.
It was gross anyway. It's the kind of thing where like it's like a flavored vodka where if you have too much of it ever, it's just like, yeah, I'm good for the rest of my life. I don't want to smell it anymore. Like Bacardi,
anything raspberry I can't do because of like raspberry vodka when I was a kid. So not a kid, that sounds ridiculous. But when I was like a high school,
I was Henny in my sippy cup.
Yeah, right. Non-alcoholic related on that though. I can't drink Baja Blast anymore. The Mountain Dew because I got the stomach bug the night after drinking it one time in high school, and so I was like sick the whole next day. So that was in my, and I'm like turned off by it now, which sucks because it was really good, but I can't think about it anymore.
We're just gonna keep doing this. If you guys have any Patriots questions, just put them in there. Otherwise, we're probably just gonna talk about nothing.
We have one question that we'll get to, but go ahead with you first.
So when I was in LA, do you remember when I went to the hospital and I was in the hospital for like a week or something?
Yeah, like right before you started with us. Yeah.
Yep. So there was like this type of like tea, like iced tea, like wine, or it was like a wine cooler thing, but it had like a lot of alcohol and it didn't taste like it. Oh, I love those after work. So one day I got like, I was going out somewhere and I had like 3, and I had never had more than like 2, but it was so much sugar that I think the third was like where my body was like, wait, what is going on, dude? It messed me up so bad. Like I felt like they thought my appendix had burst. Like that was the level of pain I was in the hospital. They're like, what is like, are you sure? And I was like, I don't think that's what this is, but I don't know. So maybe it is. And after like, it took a while, like there was a bunch of testing and they realized that they were just like, yeah, I just like horrible alcohol poisoning because of the combination of the high alcohol content and the sugar, and it messed me up, dude. And I loved it. It was a thing where I could still drink it physically. I love the taste of it. That's why, but like, I can never again. Now, like wine or like any white wine or whatever, if it tastes sweet, I like my body. I don't drink, like I don't really drink anymore, but like my whole body will start shivering. It was awful, dude. That was terrible.
That's crazy.
You're gonna be morphine and stuff in the hospital. I remember being like, I like this too much because it goes in and it's like cold. It's like in a movie where they go like, ugh. I was like,
yeah, right.
That does feel nice. I was like, what? As soon as I was okay and didn't have pain, I was like, stop. Don't give me.
Right. I can't keep doing this because that's terrifying. Yeah. Right. Oh man. All right, let's get the train back on the tracks with a Patriots quote. Oh, actually, another one comes in as well.
Here we go.
Yeah. So we'll start with this. Is there a holdout on another team that the Patriots should target with future draft picks and have it be worth it? Jeff says, I'm thinking TJ Watt, Henderson. Who's Henderson? Why can't I figure out who we mean? Oh, no, but he's saying
I saw draft picks in my brain.
So what holdout Henderson?
Hendrickson.
Oh, yep. Okay. So would you use a future pick on a holdout guy? And I guess I'll throw Colton Miller in the mix too. Do you think that ship sailed to go get a left tackle now that drafted Will Campbell?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be such weird messaging if you kept saying.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
That would be a terrible look.
Okay, but on edge,
no. Edge guys know because like I don't even know if Caleb on Chason makes it. Like Elijah Ponder and Braden Swinson have good summers. It's going to be hard to justify keeping Chason. So I don't think TJ Watt or Hendrickson are necessarily in the mix. Who else is a holdout? I think that's
the non-edge guy was Colton Miller that I thought of. Why do I think that
no receivers? See NFL holdouts.
Why do I feel like Jadeveon Clowney has something going on with his contract?
Bro, he better not be holding out.
That's not that he would be holding out, but
yeah. Should I ask Grok? Ask Grok.
It'll probably tell you something stupid.
Honestly, bro, Grok is surprisingly helpful. As long as you double check and make sure that like what it tells you is vetted.
Yeah.
It can like the formatting and stuff. I hate AI because I'm like, damn, that's really helpful. I mean, I guess that's what it should be for, not for like taking people's jobs and shit. Yeah. Okay. What am I doing?
Any holdouts across the NFL? Oh no, the Panthers just engaged in pre-draft trade talks centered around Jadeveon Clowney. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
I would not mortgage any future picks for
Jalen Ramsey holding out. I know they're trying to move him. I would. I go in the slot. That can be pretty nasty, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's tough. Well, I mean, if he's holding out Ramsey, I don't think the Dolphins would trade him anyway, obviously. So that's but I would be intrigued by Jalen Ramsey in the slot. I can't lie. As much as I like Marcus Jones, he's on a 1-year deal.
Right.
Unless they are willing to be like, let's see how he plays and maybe we'll keep him around for a long term. Micah Parsons.
I mean, I would trade for Micah Parsons. I don't think he's holding out.
But Micah Parsons, but I don't know if you're gonna. If he's ever on the market, you will not hear me say no. Boo, Micah Parsons. Like he's weird, but he's a productive player.
You trade everything for him and you extend him on the money he wants. No questions asked. But
that's like one of your few now, because premium positions, you got your quarterback, you got your left tackle. Even if he's just very good, you got your left tackle. You don't have your like premier edge rushers, so. But yeah, no, I don't think so at this point. I would just kind of wait to see what happens and capitalize after. I think you've got your starters locked up right now, and I don't think there's any guys that are worth giving up future draft picks for, because these are guys that are at the end of the rope anyway, and you're not competing for Super Bowl or anything like that. So I don't think that's necessarily proven right now.
I agree. If someone more appealing, I guess, holdout wise came about, call it, a big name wide receiver, or again, if this Micah thing, if he doesn't end up getting paid by Dallas and they for some reason think they have to move him, which would be the stupidest thing ever, because again, he's the best defensive player in football, but I would go do something like that. I just don't think it's going to happen. Wiley asks, is there an ex receiver that Josh McDaniels has coached before that we can look to as our best guess at the house? What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm just going to guess how Kyle Williams will be used. Sounds like they did it like with her.
So I can't decipher when people do this, and that's on me because so many people use voice to text now. But no, best guess at how Kyle Williams will be used. Good question. Bad coding by my or decoding by my part.
I've been looking at Brandon Cooks, similar side, like undersized guy who's an X, but you can move him around. You would see like Cooks be used on seam routes. When they were an empty from the slot, he would be the X, obviously. They would also, like I said, they use him in motion to have him go on crossers, deep out routes, deep corners. So if you want to look at Brandon Cooks' highlights from his 2017 season with the Patriots, that should give you a pretty good idea of how they're going to use Kyle Williams. Like jet sweeps also, like his speed will be used to stretch the defense horizontally and vertically.
Yeah. This is interesting from Jeff. It's not really a question, but he says, next time we talk to Jerry Springer, going to ask why the NFL or teams don't have a cold weather training facility for kickers. That would be pretty cool.
That would be so expensive for
it would be
something. I don't think teams care enough. Maybe they should, and I think the Eagles maybe would think about that. But I mean,
hilarious though.
Ask some version of
controlling the weather.
Yeah, I guess you could pump it in and make it really, really cold.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you blast it and make it 40 degrees, like obviously it's not blistering cold conditions,
right?
Like it's not a blizzard or anything like that. But I mean, if a guy is from Miami and you turn it down to 45, you're gonna feel that. So
that would be fascinating.
Yeah, that's cool though. I'll find some way to ask some version of that question.
How expensive? Jeff follows up. How expensive can it be to have a field in Patagonia, Argentina, to go to 2 weeks a year in June? Now, that's different than building a cold weather facility. Shipping guys to Antarctica is different. Yeah.
Let me see if you can kick in cold weather.
Ship them to the Himalayas, says Isaac. And Wiley says, so sorry. Dude, it's okay. We're all good here. Dude, you just made a typo.
I thought that the asterisks were covering up like he was cursing.
Oh, no. He's just fixing his typo.
Like, is howlets a bad word?
No, that's okay. Question from PGS. Andrew. What's up, Andrew? Are you guys a little worried about the linebacker depth at all? Things could get ugly if Spillane goes down. I mean, yeah, we had a hard time figuring out the roster when we did it because we didn't want to keep a lot of linebackers, but we didn't think a lot of linebackers warranted a roster spot. So it is still a pretty shallow room. So yeah, I to answer the question quickly, I would say I'm a little worried about the depth of the position.
I think like most teams, if your middle linebacker went down, you'd be in some pretty big trouble. Because most teams, like if you're a good defense, you usually have a middle linebacker who does a lot of things for you and is not an easy guy to replace. Like Not a lot of teams are the Patriots where they had Hightower and Mayo and Jamie Collins and Kyle Van Noy and like all of these guys who were interchangeable and could to some degree could do what the other guys could do. Because if Spillane went down, I think Jack Gibbons steps up. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's a guy who knows the defense very well.
Right.
Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You lose the playmaking aspect, but I mean, again, there's just not a lot of good linebackers or linebackers who can come in and contribute for more than like a few games. But the fact they've got Monty Rice, Jack Gibbons, and Robert Spillane, all guys who've been in the system, that gives me hope that like if something bad were to happen, you at least don't have anybody who's going to be totally in over their head. And you actually have coaches who've been in the system before too. So I'm not really worried about the linebacker depth. I just don't know if you're 4 deep, but there's also not many teams that are 4 deep, especially when you consider they are going to be using third safeties like they have in the past with Patriots wise, and probably more than Vrabel has. So that's another reason why, you know, the linebacker spot isn't as valuable because you can just stick Kyle Duggar or Bill Peppers or somebody in there. Jeremiah
says we got Braves as a reserve. Good point. Very good point. Just stick this guy in there and, put him in an LB. All right, we'll wrap it up with this before we get to the weekend. And Jeff is piggybacking off Andrew. How important are linebackers in this Mike Vrabel / Terrell Williams defense, Taylor?
So it's backwards from what it's been in the past. In the past, the linebackers were the stars, and the defensive linemen were the guys who were trying to make their lives easier. Mm-hmm. In this defensive system, the defensive linemen are the stars. Big reason you pay Milton Williams as much money as you pay, because those guys are supposed to create the disruption and basically make it difficult for the running backs to even get to the second level. But by doing that, you also hope that the linebackers are good at cleaning up and being able to, while they may not be going, how do I describe it? Where they're not eating space and just flowing to the play necessarily. When that disruption happens, you're hoping they can rally to the football. So that's really the biggest thing is linebackers are still very valuable. Like you're making all the calls, and there's also less versatility needed because they really just have their 4, 5, 6 defensive linemen, and they don't really rotate a ton. So you're not going to see. That's why like Jelani Tavai is not as valuable in the system because he's not probably. They could because they have Farmer, Barmore, Williams, Keon. Like they have guys where it would make sense to go with a 5 down front, and they will at times. But I don't think they're going to do it as much as we've seen in the past, where you see Jelani Tavai from play to play could be on the line or off. So linebackers are not the stars in this system. It's really more of the defensive linemen.
Jeff responds, Robert Spillane makes much more sense after hearing that. I would agree. All right. Shall we start the weekend, my friend?
Yeah,
let's do it, guys. Thanks so much for joining us here on this AMA Friday. We enjoy it. It's much more laid back, and we appreciate everyone who comes in every single week. Keep coming and hang out with us and ask those questions. Take that face off. You can't make me keep laughing. Keep coming to the AMAs. It's a good time.
Oh, yes, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, we enjoy it. We enjoy the fun, and thank you guys for not only subscribing to the channel, but also for helping us out with the subscriptions as well. When's the Henderson video coming?
Today.
It'll be out today. So keep an eye out for that. Taylor broke down Travian Henderson tape, and it'll be out for members only. So the one thing I'll ask is if you are a member and you know a friend who subscribes but is not a member, tell them to be a member because you get to come hang out with us here on Fridays and have a lot of fun and also check out Taylor's film breakdown. So on that note, you're a jerk. He's Taylor. I'm Mike. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, and we will see you next week here on Patriots Daily. Peace out, everyone.